All right, welcome to Buckets, Boards, and Banner. I'm John. This is Rob, and boy, do we have a good show lined up for you today. There's been some interesting news come out around the league that we're going to cover. But first, last time we talked, you told us, Rob, that you were going to go to the Minnesota game where the Spurs came in, Spurs and Wolves. So tell us a little bit about it. I know we obviously know who won. We know the Wolves won in the thriller there at the end. But how was your experience going to the game?
It was good. It was good till the last 16 seconds or so.
Yeah.
When they took the lead, but great start with 16-0 to start, and obviously in Spurs colors in the Timberwolves arena. So Minnesota Nice was out though. I think I had. No one gave us any dirty looks. Everyone told us that they enjoyed watching Wemby play. The guy sitting next to me just kept screaming every time Wemby would knock down a three about how good he was. Yeah. But man, it was a great game. And just at the end, it's like we fell apart a little bit from the Spurs side. So Wemby, I thought played really well. They were really physical with him at the end, and I think that took him out of it a little bit. I think another kind of poor outing from Castle. Harper didn't look to play well. I think De'Aaron Fox has not been able to hit the three consistently to start it. And then we just didn't rebound. I think that was kind of the big difference in the fourth quarter. A ton of offensive rebounds for Gobert or Julius Randle, and they just wanted it. And when you get a player like Ant at the end, shot to win it, man. It was tough. Great game.
It seemed pretty. I watched it on TV. It seemed like it was pretty loud there.
Yeah, it was packed. I had a couple of the decibel readings that my Apple Watch gives me. About how loud it was. So it was loud, man. It was loud, packed. They stand until they score. When the
they mentioned that podcast that they stood
they stood for a long time.
17-0 run or something like that, and they're still waiting.
Yeah, they stood for a nice long time, man.
Man. Yeah. Did you obviously you're standing, right? You're standing there with them?
No, I sat down. My team scored. So.
Okay. You weren't you weren't engaging in none of that. All right.
I was just sticking it out. No, and most of the people in our section, they sat down too. So they knew what it was. I don't think they were waiting. I don't know when they scored. I know what the score was when they finally did, but I don't recall how long they were standing. But most of the arena had already sat by the time that they did score. So there's a couple people that stood up again and then sat right back down. But good game. I think it's some of these top of the West matchups have been really good. Obviously the Spurs and OKC when they've played, the Spurs had a great one against Denver. And another one against Houston at the beginning of the season. So it was good to see again. Tough that they now 0-2 against the Timberwolves, a team that they're probably gonna have to face the playoffs. They get there. So
yeah. All right. Well, it was a great game. I was rooting for the Spurs too, but it was pretty exciting. And I'm sure you're glad that Wemby played, right? Because he was questionable going in.
100%. I was waiting. We showed up. There's a line of people down there with Wemby jerseys and pens and markers ready to get signed. So it was cool to see him out there pregame, getting shots up and things like that. He's a monster out there when you see him running around with the assistant coaches and getting shots up. Again, you see him moving in the game, but when you see how fluid he is and pregame when he's just going through things, it's pretty incredible to watch. Super fluid at that size is crazy.
All right. Well, we do have some big stories we're going to cover here that kind of come out over the weekend. So one of the ones that came out actually has to do with the Spurs. Jaylen Brown was fined $35,000 by the NBA, and he knew it was
pocket change for him.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny because he was just asking for it. Fine me. So he dared the NBA to fine him. He said the officiating was inconsistent, and especially when they play good teams. And he's telling reporters there, check the film. Every time they play a good team, officiating's bad. And I think there was a crew he was specifying there. So Does Jaylen Brown have a point? Was the officiating terrible on, when was that, Saturday?
Yeah. Two things can be true. The Celtics shoot a lot of threes, like the most threes in the NBA. I think this is the third year in a row that they've led the NBA in that. They shot 44 threes Saturday. The Spurs shot 44 threes. So I think when you play a style that you pull outside, I mean, so many sequences in that game as I'm watching, you see everybody outside the paint. They're pulling Wemby out. Wemby's guarding Jaylen Brown at the three. When you shoot that many threes and you're not getting to the basket, you're not going to get those same foul called. I mean, I think the big discrepancy he called out, right, was 20 free throws the Spurs shot to 4 for the Celtics.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look it up, there was 5 more fouls called on Boston than there was on the Spurs. So the Spurs were called for 13 fouls. Boston called for 18. So the free throw discrepancy is big. But again, you got a team in the Spurs who, if they're not leading, they're at the top of the league in drives to the basket. You've got guys who aren't great shooters who are driving it in. There's not really an interior force for the Celtics. I just think it's natural for it to end up that way. So, I get he's frustrated. I have to watch more Celtics games and kind of follow what that trend looks like. But I think, he gets stripped at the end of the game. He goes up on Wemby. I think he thinks that there should have been a call. I think it could have gone either way. I could have seen them calling a foul. I could have seen them calling an offensive foul too. But I think, you lose a tough one at home. You're, a potential MVP candidate. I get why he's upset. I think there's been a lot of officiating misses this year, but I don't think that game was the one that you want to kind of die on a hill for. So
I will say, usually you can kind of feel it when it's real lopsided as far as free throws and stuff like that. When watching the game, I didn't necessarily feel like it was that. I mean, unless you look at the box score, in the flow of the game, you didn't feel like the referees were favoring one over the other. I know Castle will get downhill and he'll always attack the rim, and he usually gets calls. But other than that, I didn't feel like Boston was getting robbed of calls or anything like that. So that's just my observation. But Jaylen Brown didn't feel that way, and he was willing to just. You take that fine.
I'll say for all of it, right? The Spurs won by 5. They shot, they were 14 of 20 from free throws. It didn't really seem to help them. All the free throws that they shot the same amount of threes. I think for Boston, they shot, what's the 3-point percent? They shot 36% from 3. Spurs shot 23%. So yeah, I think those things factored in. But yeah, there was nothing in that game where it just felt they're getting a lot. It's just you're a team that plays 5 out and you shoot a bunch of threes and you are now not driving. And I think that's always clear against a team that plays the Spurs is you see them not drive or attempt to drive because they're not going to go in there and challenge Victor. So I think it's just what it comes out with, overall. So the Spurs lead the league in fouls, I believe still. But that's again, how aggressive our guards get out there and play. But against
getting the paint a lot. I think they lead the league in getting in the paint points. Yep. I do think maybe Jaylen Brown is trying to pull Finch from Minnesota when they were playing the Thunder, and he just went off on the refs. I think he got ejected, and it was just really just trying to make a point. I think after the game, he criticized the refs and kind of said, kind of the same thing Jaylen Brown said, that you can't touch them, and it's very lopsided. Maybe that's what he's doing. I guess time will tell to see if that strategy works for him. But we'll see what happens in the future.
If it helps get a better whistle, I can see it. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's what he's trying to set them up for is, hey, let's get a bit more attention on us when we drive to the basket. But you got to drive to the basket though. So you can't continue to put up 50 to 55 threes a game and expect to get a bunch of goals. So
yeah, that's true. All right, next topic. Let's see here. So I don't know if you heard about this, but Dennis Schroder suspended 3 games. Okay,
I know nothing about this. I need you to walk me through.
You know nothing about this. All right, so it's kind of weird how this happened. Dennis Schroder and the Kings were playing the Lakers on the 28th, which was 28th of December. All right, so this goes way to December. He just barely got suspended. But during that game, he was going back and forth with Luka Doncic. And as they're going back and forth, Luka is there kind of on the baseline, kind of by the scores table. And he's yelling at Schroder, should have signed that contract, baby. All right. And if you don't know what contract he's talking about, back in 2021, the Lakers offered Schroder a 4-year, $84 million contract. And Rob, do you remember what he said to that contract?
So I guess he said no. I remember him not signing it.
He said, I'm betting on myself. All right. So he bet on himself. You know who ended up signing with the next year? It was the Celtics, a 1-year deal for $5.9 million. All right. And that happened back in 2021. So here we are in 2026. Well, I guess technically when Luka trolled him, that was 2025, right before the new year. He said, should have signed that contract, baby. Dennis Schroder was real picked about that. They were jawing back and forth, and he said, I'll see you in the back. And then apparently 40 minutes after the game, he was back there in the tunnel looking for Luka, and he wanted to smack him, to slap him. So that finally, I guess they investigated it, and it finally came out, and he just got the 3-game suspension. Have you ever been that mad? Would you want to go 40 minutes later after a game and go smack somebody?
I don't think I've ever played in a game that's had the stakes of any NBA game, obviously. So I've never felt that I've wanted to do that. I will say I respect him standing on business and going to meet him. I think a lot of times the stars will say stuff and based on the player you are, like they kind of expect you to take it. So I respect that. And I think I'm a Luka Doncic fan, but I do think that there's probably a lot of the league that isn't. And so I respect that he went to go meet. I don't think he could have thought he was ever going to get close to Luka Doncic.
These guys talk a lot of smack. Do you think that's a little too personal? You know, that's a lot of money to lose.
No, it's not. But I mean, it's not. He wasn't calling out like a family or anything like that. Now, I think if you're Schroeder, maybe you talk to him about getting traded, right? Like, would that be the perfect comeback? There is, like go talk to Nico or something like that, right? Like that obviously was
a rebuttal.
Like why wouldn't you just approach it that way? I don't really know. I mean, Luka's not really known
like
for
he should have came at Luka with like a weight joke.
I think he could have told him something there. I saw a snippet where they were at the free throw line, and I don't know if he pointed at him or. I don't think he touched him. He put his hand up to his face. So I thought, he's telling him something. And then Luka, I think, came to the other side of the lane and said something. But yeah, I think there's probably a ton of stuff he could have taken back to him right there. That would have been pretty good. They probably would have drawn a laugh out of him. Or, I'd expect there's a hard foul. I'll say this. I can't even tell you who Schroeder plays for now. Who is he?
Oh, it's Sacramento.
What team is he on?
Yeah, the Kings. So, that's who he plays for.
But yeah, I mean, what is the only other? Well, I guess what you had was it the CP3 when he came back to the Clippers?
Oh yeah, this has happened before.
He led the Rockets through a backdoor or something, right? And then you got the kind of oldest one was KG saying something, and then Carmelo Anthony waiting for him by the team buses. I think was a story before that KG had said something about Carmelo's wife, and so he waited for him. I mean, there's a few. This is probably the least of the 3 that have happened. So I think more smoke. I mean, you got. Schroeder's a good player. He's become a journeyman now, though. But I think, it's a good comeback too. I can't imagine Luka's the first person that thought to say that to Dennis Schroeder. There's got to be other people that said it. There's got to be.
I mean, it's been 5 years, so I'm sure. I think somewhere he did say that fans did troll him a lot, but he's kind of worked through it. But for it to still come out, it's pretty insane after 5 years. Um, all right. We'll keep it moving here. So the next thing is the Suns are the Suns are actually we had that KD trade this summer, and for KD to leave the Suns to go to Houston. Houston's obviously was a big favorite in the league to, do a lot of things, the championships, everything. But it so happens right now the Suns are half a game ahead of Houston. And recently KD was seen throwing a water bottle on the ground when the team lost a 13-point lead with him on the bench, and they end up losing to Portland. A lot of frustrations happening in Houston right now.
Oh.
Do you think that KD is regretting leaving Phoenix?
I don't. I think he's still got the best chance at winning in Houston. I mean, Devin Booker as your co-star, obviously not comparable to anybody he has there in Houston, right? Like Devin Booker's an all-star, been to the finals. But I think the overall team makeup, Phoenix, they remind me of, and they've probably done it a little bit longer now, but I remember a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, you had Utah that was supposed to tank, came out really strong. It only lost a few games. You've got those teams that they're just scrappy enough, right, where it gets really tough to just play. I mean, I think they're playing – Boston's a better team, but I think Boston is similar to them where you've now got this superstar, right? Like I think Devin Booker and Jaylen Brown can both be in that category, but at least a star. And they've got a bunch of scrappy guys around him who just know how to play really well, right? Like they're going to go shoot a bunch of threes. They're going to get up and down the court. I think long-term, though, like it's hands down, I think the Rockets just will perform better. Their issue is just that, right? Like they don't have a point guard. Fred VanVleet going down. I think I'm interested to see if they make some type of move, maybe for Ja and buy low on him and bring him in to help them with the rest of the season. But yeah, like KD has every reason to be upset. I don't know if you saw Ime Udoka after the game had mentioned like how sad it was that he can't take a 38-year-old out of the game without them losing the lead. I think also you're the coach, so that's a little bit that falls onto you and kind of your schemes. But for everything that they've done, I mean, I think the Rockets have. I don't want to say underachieved. I think people probably thought they were the second best team on paper. So that's what I think. They can still get to. Like I think they're going to finish out in the top 4 to 5 teams in the West, but they're definitely hindered with that. But I don't think Katie's looking at it like, hey, like, did I make the right decision? I think they're going to be better. I think at the end of the season, you'll see Phoenix probably, in the plan. And I think just depending on how some of the other teams in that kind of ranking look, I think they have a chance. But I just don't think the shooting that they've had at home and other things is going to really like hold true through the rest of the season. So.
Yeah, and they're kind of built more for the playoffs anyway, right? Like, I mean, KD can play anytime.
Houston,
but, Houston. So a little overreaction maybe, but it's always fun to talk about KD and kind of his, if he has any his previous teams and things like that. Just from him.
KD's won championships, right? But when does he get considered a journeyman? Like, does he ever get that title, or does that have to be if you're just like a role player? Like, Shaq at the end of his career was a journeyman, right?
But then no one would dare call him a journeyman. I don't think you would tell him that to his face either, right?
But like Shaq on the Celtics, like, is that considered a journeyman?
I mean, that's the end of your career. You're just trying to squeeze those last few bucks out, like I don't know. I don't know.
If KD leaves Houston and he goes to, they open the franchise back up in Seattle and he goes back there, is that like, is he a journeyman now?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good. It's actually a good question for our followers to kind of debate out there. I don't know. I want to hear from them.
Yeah.
They could duke it out in the comments. But I'm not
There
too
might be
sure.
like a tier system where if you're so good, you're not considered that because you're a star, right? Like, and Katie's obviously a superstar in the league, but
Mhm.
yeah, and I don't know. I don't think he's itching to leave there. I think he's frustrated. Obviously, I think he thought he was going to have Fred VanVleet there to kind of help like quell some of that. But they're also young. Like besides him and Adams, right? Like they've got some young pieces there. So like you're going to see those growing pains. You've got guys who don't play the point, trying to play the point. Reed Shepherd played very little last year, so to see them, kind of put him into a starting spot or at least coming off the bench and having to play a lot of minutes, like it's going to be that way for him. I think that's probably less frustrating than being in Phoenix with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal and not winning. So
Yeah.
I'd say at least you were in contention and in a spot where people still think your team has a lot they can do.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm sure there'll be more KD news later on, but to our next story, which is another wild story. There's a lot of weird stuff happening lately. So some of the news that came out, I guess over the weekend, was Houston was in California. They're on the road. They were playing Portland. Well, they had to play Sacramento, I believe, Saturday night, or no, they played them Sunday. But Saturday night they were looking for a hotel, and Houston couldn't find a hotel in Sacramento. So they decided to stay in San Francisco, which is about a 2.5 hour drive.
Wow.
Is there no rooms available in Sacramento where they were all booked on Saturday night?
Is there some like event? Was there something going on there?
I don't know. I imagine there's enough hotel rooms in Sacramento to accommodate them.
No one's
But
coming into Sacramento for the Kings game. So the only people going there to watch the Kings play or to be at the Kings game are the Rockets. So that's just not.
I imagine, I guess, I don't know. They probably have a hotel they always stay at. Maybe it was booked. Maybe there's only one hotel they can stay at there, but I'm sure there had to be a La Quinta or something with vacancy that night. And maybe they just chose that, hey, let's go to they'll take the drive, the 2 hour drive to San Francisco. As an NBA player, I mean, I guess you're afforded those luxuries, but would you rough it as an NBA player in like a
No, not at all.
people? No. No. All right.
Not at all. Look, KD leaves teams for a lot of reasons. All right, he didn't get the ball from Draymond, and he left a 2-time championship winning team. You think he's staying at a Best Western in Stockton?
Yeah. Oh man, I don't. Yeah, I guess that.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm sure for all other reasons than probably that. I am sure that they are also thinking security. They've got whatever, the staff, obviously, that they've got with them. They've got security personnel, team personnel. So,
it's hard to secure a Best Western because all the doors are outside. So you got to guard like 20 doors,
Do you also like, yeah, I mean,
huh?
Yeah, I feel like that team's pretty like Steven Adams probably just kind of overwatches everything, but yeah, I do just think they are probably so accustomed, and most of them I would guess are not, they're not planning the logistics, right? The team is figuring out this is the place where we can staff everybody, where we feel safe, and put it together. But
they might need a banquet room
that
too,
team.
Yeah.
You need space. I think they'll do walkthroughs and stuff. You're looking at food in the morning, and if you're doing like any team activities. So 2.5 hours seems excessive. I'm not from the California area, so that might have actually been like 15 miles, and just with traffic that they had over there is why it took so long. But I could definitely see it. Like looking at the team in person, they got some young guys on there, but again, I mean, they're NBA players. These guys have been traveling around by plane and staying in great hotels from their teenage years playing basketball. So No surprise.
All right. Well, hopefully the Houston or whoever runs their hotel stays, they get it figured out next time. All right, let's move on to contenders and pretenders. All right, so we're gonna be looking at some of the teams.
All right.
Rob, I'm gonna give you a team. You let me know if they're contenders or pretenders. First team that I have for you are the Lakers, Los Angeles Lakers. Are they contenders or pretenders?
Pretenders.
Hmm.
I think on paper it seems really good to have LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves. I
Yeah.
think what you see in the season is exactly what you have because it doesn't, you're not marking up there that you got a 40-year-old, all-time scorer in the NBA. But I think they've just shown the cracks. They don't have the supporting cast that you would want. I think whenever you're counting on DeAndre Ayton to anchor your defense in the paint, or you're looking at has to be late 30s or at least mid 30s Marcus Smart as your lockdown defenders. I think you're gonna have issues with the West.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can name a ton of teams better than them in actuality after seeing them play this season, not just on paper. And I think LeBron's going to probably continue to have some of these issues. Who knows how Austin Reeves is going to be when he comes back. And Luka, for as amazing as he looked and in shape as he looked, like as the season's continued, he's looked like that's not kept up, and he has a high usage rate. He's amazing, but I mean, I think he had more help sometimes in Dallas with those last couple teams that he had. So it'll be interesting to see with them, but I just don't see it. I think they can maintain themselves in the play-in and possibly get into the playoffs, but I just don't see a top 4 team that's scared of them in the playoffs.
Okay.
And that's not going to take it to them. Like I don't think there's one of those top teams that I think they can beat in the 7-game series.
They probably need a few more pieces, right? They need to change out some defense, things like that. All right, next team I have for you, one you saw up and close, Minnesota. Are they contenders or pretenders?
I'd have said probably a couple weeks ago, I was really on the fence. I know they've been to back-to-back Western Conference Finals, right? Were they there last year?
Yeah.
I'm trying to recall. Back-to-back Western Conference Finals. They had knocked off the Denver hurdle a couple years ago. I think they're contenders now. I think Ant is sometimes inconsistent, but that guy's a gamer. He's clutch. They have a good defense. They've got a lot of switchable pieces out there, and I think what I saw yesterday and what you'll see is like those big guys like to bang down there. Julius Randle likes to bang down there and get scrappy, get rebounds. Naz Reid, if he's not hitting, he was getting down there and getting active. Rudy Gobert, I think the critics will say like, all right, put him in a lot of pick and roll scenarios. They don't have a true point guard on the team, right? Like I think they started Dante DiVincenzo at point guard, and I saw a lot of Mike Conley minutes, and their bench is not deep at all, right? Like Jalen Clark comes in. They're not playing a ton of guys, so that I think leaves room for what can they do when they've got to go against these big defensive sets of guards, and you've got OKC running at you a lot, albeit they've beaten the Spurs twice this year. But what happens when you got to keep going at those guys? And I think that's tough, right? Like I think there was a lot of plays where Gobert just looked outmatched versus Wemby in yesterday's game, but I think they can do it. I think they can put it together to get them over the hump where they've been. I mean, OKC was just on a tear last year, but I think they've got the pieces that will put them in line for a good playoff series. So I think they're for real.
Yeah, definitely. That core that they have there has been together for said the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. Usually a team needs that, hit that wall a couple times, and then eventually, like the third time, they finally break through. So who knows? It could
I'll
be
say this. They'll go by how good Jaden McDaniels can play. If he can become more than the 3-and-D, if he can be active as a defender, knock down a three somewhat consistently, get to the rim and make plays, they'll go really far. You're going to get what you get, and teams are going to play him tighter. They're not going to, allow him some of the movement that he's had. But I think if Jaden McDaniels can be that secondary guy, their chances go way, way up there. So you kind of need him to, more dynamic maybe than Aaron Gordon was with Denver when they won the championship, right? Like he's knocking down threes, he's defending, but I think if he can play someone in that mold, I think they'll be in a really good spot.
All right. So now we're moving on to the East. Toronto, are they a contender or a pretender?
They're having a good season. I think pretender for me. I like what they're doing. Obviously overachieving, I think, for the year. When you're counting on Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, right? Like, and you've got injury inconsistency with Brandon Ingram. I just don't think long term, right? They can really, I don't think you're Detroit or New York, even Boston. You're scared of the Raptors, right? Like, I don't think Scotty Barnes has played amazing. He's an all-star this year, should be. Played really consistent, but again, they lack some of the shooting depth that you need. Some of the dynamics at the point guard spot, right? Like those guys just have not played as well this season. So you got a guy who can get you a bucket in Brandon Ingram. That's fantastic. Scotty Barnes, I think, can score. I'm not going to say like he's a throw the ball and get him a bucket type of guy. But I just again, I don't see them. They might end up in the top 4, but I don't see them really contending as much. Like I don't see in a 7-game series they're taking out those top 3 teams probably.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I would also say, like, even if they did make a little run, it wouldn't be their time. Like they probably need a couple of years of deep runs, but I mean, it's not like they're real young either. So
yeah,
that's how I feel about them. All right, another team in the East, Boston. We saw them play on Saturday against the Spurs. We recapped that one. How do we feel about Boston? Are they contenders or pretenders?
Another overachieving team. I'm not picking them to make the conference finals. I'd say for the East, I don't think they're a true championship contender. If they get Tatum back, then jury's out, right? Like stuff changes.
Pushing to return this season.
So, I mean, if he came back after All-Star, then I think it changes. I'd love to see how they mesh a little bit. But they lost some pieces from last year, right? Like, again, you're putting out, offense from, right? Like, you're putting out a bunch of guys and Luka Garza, and Shire, and I forget they're starting. But kind of similar to what they did the year they lost to Golden State, right? Like, you threw Robert Williams out there with 4 guards, and you didn't have anybody who could really control a man. They don't rebound well.
Richard's a beast. Little beast.
I mean, these guys are good. But again, like live by the 3, die by the 3, right? Like if you're going to go out there and shoot 43% in a playoff game, fantastic. I think when you've got teams that can run around and guard you like that, I'd put them over Toronto for sure. But I still think they're below, and I think depending on how some things shake out, there's a couple other teams that can get up there. But I would say overall, if they don't get Tatum back, they're not a team I think that can make a real push in the playoffs.
Okay. Last team I have for you, Cleveland. Is Cleveland a contender or a pretender?
I've never seen a team that has like 4 all-star players, right? I don't think they've all been together, obviously, but 4 players that have been all-stars, and the fact that they don't have like a starting small forward who's efficient, like completely ruins their team. Like I've never seen a team chase, how can we get like a consistent small forward? Like it's been so crazy to see. I think Strus being hurt has hurt them a lot. But you just think a team on paper, like that's a 2K team, right? I got Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and then Jared Allen and Mobley. And it's like, oh, put whoever in there in that 5th spot, and we're going to be amazing. Yeah. And for some reason for them, they just can never put it together. They're super inconsistent. You've got moments where it's like Mobley and Allen have not at the same time looked amazing, and then one or the other just can't catch it, can't finish. They got a little bit of the injury bug. Obviously, Garland's been back and forth. I think that they have the ability still, like in a 7-game series, I think I would pick them over the Celtics. That might seem crazy because the inconsistencies they've had, but I just think overall Donovan Mitchell's proven to be an MVP candidate, a gamer. Darius Garland coming back from injury, like nobody can stay in front of that guy. Like I watched really good defenders look completely lost out there guarding him. And I think as long as Mobley and Allen can patrol the paint, rebound, finish lobs, and easy buckets, I think you're in a good spot. So I'd say, yep, like top 3 in the East is where I expect they should get to, or at least maintain and have home court. And I think that they have a real shot at it. I think if you put them in, I think they've got some experience on Detroit. I'd like to see a series like that. I think I might lean
towards probably be
them,
a pretty good
right?
series right there with
That'd
Detroit.
be a great series. I think
Cleveland.
Yeah, a few years ago, I think you'd say that'd be not a great watch for the NBA, but I think I think it'd be a great series, and I think I'd probably say overall, like they're the most vet heavy and ready, along with New York, to like make that push to get to the finals. So
definitely on paper.
I think they're for real. I think they're for real. Shoes has to come back and play for them, so I'm anxious to see that. But I never thought somebody's title hopes would land on Max Strus, but I think they're for real. They've not played up to it, but I think they are.
All right. So that was the last team I had for you. Tomorrow, Spurs Thunder, just kind of as a bonus here. Any expectations for that tomorrow before we head out? We might do a reaction to that video, but we'll see how it goes. But any expectations, or what can you expect tomorrow?
I think all the pressure is on OKC. I think this is the biggest game of the season for them. They have to get this off their back. I think
it isn't OKC. Yeah.
I think they have to get it off of their back. I think Chet Holmgren needs to get this off his back, that he can beat Wemby or play well against him. I think that arena is going to be loud. But I think this is for them, for the season so far, this is their biggest game. I think they've got to come out and show that we can beat this team. We're the defending champs. So I expect them to come out strong. I think from the Spurs standpoint, right, like it's not as big of a game to them, but I think after losing, 19-point lead in Minnesota, you had a really good run, where you had a good win, right, where you beat Boston, but you just come off of losing 2 games back to back to teams that you should have beat, right? I think they're 3-4? Is it like 3-4, 4-4, something in their last 8, something like they're probably about 500. I think in the last 8 to 10 overall. You got to get. This is a tough one to say. You got to go get it against the best team in the NBA, but you got to go get it. Like you got to go now. You got the mental edge in this. No matter what going into the game, you got to come out with fire. You got to come out with intensity. The guys who have not played good, you got to go show like why you beat this team 3 times already this season and put forth. So I think it's gonna be another great game, probably. Big for both. Again, I think really big for OKC. Should be a big game and could be a good bounce back for San Antonio, though.
Okay, I was looking at the injury report earlier. It looks like Hartenstein's going to be out, and for the Spurs, Wemby's expected to play, but Vassell is supposed to be out. So
Vassell's hurting. We need that 3-point shooting from them, but I would guess that means Chet starts. And I would want to see if they put him on Wemby. I know the last 3 games he's not the primary defender. They've usually had somebody else come over, whether it's been Dort or whether it's been Jalen Williams. So I'm anxious to see if they go to this. I know that's what a lot of the fans have called for, is just have Chet straight up guard Wemby. So who knows? You've lost 3 times to him and you've run the same defensive scheme. Do you change it? Do you run it differently? Do you let Chet go at this guy one-on-one and then you see what happens? I know Wemby would love that. Or, do you stay with the same thing? And then, I think that defensive intensity, rebounding for OKC, shooting for the Spurs, and turnovers like that, those are going to be the keys for both those teams to win it.
All right. Well, we'll be hopefully out with a reaction video that we're excited to see. That. So we'll go ahead and end it there. So for Buckets, Boards, and Banner, this is John and Rob. Before you go, make sure you like and subscribe our videos. It just helps us grow, do more videos. Until next time, we'll see you.
Sure.